if you've ever wondered about one of the most important processes for marketing, we're going to talk about that and so much more coming up. What's up guys, Tim Ruswick from Game Dev Underground, and if you're new here on this channel, I share a lot of motivational and marketing stuff that has to do with game development, so if you are new, consider subscribing and make sure you hit the bell to get notified. But today, we're going to talk about some marketing concepts, and this is the beginning of a series that I'm going to do where I take a specific concept, either that I've learned or I've created through all of the stuff that I've learned, and I walk you guys through that concept and kind of what it means and how you can adapt it to your life. And so, being the first video in this series, I thought we'd focus on one of the most important concepts out there, and that is the player discovery process, PDP. This was adapted from one of the things that we used to do in marketing called the customer discovery process, or the basic process in which your customer discovers you. Now, a lot of times for startups and tech companies and stuff like that, this process is very conscious. This process is designed. It starts with like a paid ad or something like that, and then it goes to a landing page which is designed for that purpose, and then they go through a sign-up process, and there's a whole onboarding process and stuff like that. So there are people out there that actually design this whole process. They don't call it what I call it because it's a series of different skill sets, right? Like you need an advertising guy, you need a landing page, you need all this different stuff. But the process, I think, is what's important, and it's what a lot of indie game developers miss when they're trying to market their game or their product. So what is the player discovery process? Well, I kind of touched on it, but I want to really get you to understand how this works. So if you put your game on Steam, you have to understand how people are going to find it. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, I've made this mistake in the past as well, is I just put something up on Google Play or iOS or whatever it is, or Steam, and I don't really think about how people are going to find it. I just assume that these other people, these overlords somewhere, are going to send me customers, right? Or they're going to send me downloads. And this is usually a shock for people because they'll put their app up, they'll put their game up, and then they'll get 5 downloads or no reviews or some other heartbreaking number, and it's just like, oh, we put all this work into this and now, oh well, that didn't work. So one of the things that I want to encourage you as I kind of talk through this concept is to consciously think through the process of how someone will find your game. Now, this is important for actually getting people to play your game, especially for something like launch day, right? Because launch day might be a little bit different than later time period, like 2 years from now, you know? So when you design a player discovery process, one of the advantages of it is you understand exactly how people come and find your game. And if you design one that works, you can have a very sustainable product for a long term. You can have people buying this thing for months or years to come, not just on your launch day. So, and that's actually how you build a sustainable business. You can't just constantly launch new things and only make money on the launch. That's not sustainable. That's madness. That's crazy to think you can build a business that way. That's not how business works. So I really want you to think about this. So when someone goes on Steam, how do they search for your game? Or do they even search? Do they just look at the front page of Steam? Are they interested in indie games? So would they actually look at an indie game category? Or would they search something like Meatball RPG, right? So, or what games do they actually like? Like, what are some other games that they play? What are some games similar to yours that would have the same audience? You've got to understand the answer to all these questions, because how you set up your store page on Steam or Google Play or any of these places needs to take into account not only your target market, but it also needs to take into account the discovery process, how people are going to find you. So, for example, if your game is a runner game, or let's just use runners as an example because that's all I can think of, and it's a meatball runner, and you're a little meatball running around and you just got to keep running. That's the game. And there are other games out there that are runners too, because you've been inspired by all these games. And let's say there's a huge group of people that like runner games. I don't know if there is. I haven't done the research, but let's assume there is. If you include just the name of your game, so for example, just Meatball, let's say that's the name, right? How are people going to find that? Well, if they're searching for a runner game, maybe that won't come up. Maybe if they go in the genre list and they kind of look through all the games. But do people do that? What if they search for runner games on Google? Is your game gonna show up there? What if they ask their friends about different runner games that they play? Is your game gonna come up in that conversation? So understand that, because there are a couple alternatives on how you can set up your store page. So in your store page, for example, you could have Meatball as the title, and you could say dash a runner game. Or you could change the name to something like Runner Meatball or Meatball Runner. You could add extra keywords and stuff in that contextually based on what people would do to search to find your game. You could post on relevant forums for people that are avid fans of runner games, right? You could go on Facebook and you could target other games like yours that has the same fan base. You could target those people and you could run ads to your game and say, if you like that game, you'll love this Meatball game, right? So understanding that process is really important, because when you understand how it works, you take this stuff a little more seriously. You take it a little more consciously. You work on it. One of the biggest mistakes that I made, and that I see a lot of people make to this day, is they spend all this time on the game. They work their ass off on the game. They work it, they work it, they work it. And then they get to the publishing period, and then they half-ass the store listing. They half-ass the screenshots. They half-ass their description or their title or their keywords. They just type in a bunch of stuff they think of. That is the most important part of your entire game. That is how people are going to find you, and that is how people are going to decide to choose you. That is how people download your game, based on what you put on that page. That is not a page where you just randomly put whatever you think goes there. You need to spend a lot of time researching that, understanding that, going through the discovery process of different games. Do you have a favorite game? How did you find that game? Did you search for a certain thing? Were you looking for something? Were you going through the genre list on Steam? What were you doing? So, one, I want to encourage you to just understand how people find your game, right? So that's step one, is just understand how it happens. Where they search, what they search, why they search. Do they find you through like listings or forums or what? Just understand the process. That's step one. Step two, and this goes in a little more advanced, right? That's when you have to define and design your own process. Because ultimately, any process that happens passively is not going to be a super effective process. Even if you make the best game in the world, you can get a lot more sales and a lot more downloads by consciously designing and defining what this process is and how it works. So if you are at the level where you have finished a game and you maybe haven't thought about the process, really think through it. Ask some of your friends, ask some of your customers, even if you have their emails. How did you find the game? What did you do? What did you search? What did you look for? You can do keyword research. If you just Google keyword research, you'll find a few sites where you can do keyword research. You can look up search volume for certain terms. You can see how many times a month people search certain things, so you can see if a keyword is popular. Look through that. Go through that. Try and find that stuff. Go on, like if you're making a mobile game, go on App Annie or some of these other sites that show you statistics for other games. Look at those other games. Look at their keywords. What keywords are they picking? Look at their titles. How have they chosen the title? Did they choose it brand based, or did they choose it contextual based, or like actual genre based? Pay attention. Step two is design the process, right? So, and designing is like a whole nother level. Like there's one kind of designing where you go where your target market is and you get them to look at your game, but there's another level of designing, and that's when you get into ads and actual advertising and landing pages and conversion rates. And you can check out my video on how actual advertising works. I'll link that up. but that kind of goes into depth on how that whole process works. But it's really important. But I want to encourage you that no matter where you are in your game development, where you are in your journey as a game business owner, think about the process. Think through how people will find you. Don't leave it to chance. Don't be passive about it. Don't rush the store listing or the landing page or whatever it is that you're building. Think through that process and really make sure that you understand how people find you and why they found you, what they were looking for, and that kind of thing. And that data can help you optimize a lot of different things. It can help you find new sources to find people. It can help you optimize your current sources of customers. And I think it can kind of help you along on your path to making a more successful game. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys found it useful. If you did, please leave me a comment below. I would love to know what your discovery process is like, if you've ever thought about it. Let's discuss it in the comments below. And until next time, once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you guys in the next video.